So, let's talk about Kraven. Wow, I mean, this could not end on a more catastrophic, disastrous note for the Spider-Man spin-off universe projects that have been going on over at Sony. This is just absolutely awful. It could not be more worse than what it is. Kraven has just failed across the board by the look of it. So in this video, we're going to get into the Rotten Tomato critic score. We'll check out the reviews. But first of all, before we get into any of that, the box office opening weekend projections have just been lowered even lower than what they were, and this is just catastrophic. I don't know what other word to use here, but let's go over quickly to Variety and check this out. So, the comic book spin-off, set in Sony's universe of Marvel characters, is now targeting a paltry 13 to 15 million from 3,200 theaters in its opening weekend. 13 to 15 million. That is catastrophically low. That is insane low, that number. That's just crazy for this Kraven Marvel type of movie to come out and potentially make anywhere from 13 to 15 million. That is just, Sony have to be looking at this and thinking, man, like, how could it possibly be any worse? But let's go back over here quickly. So this comes to us from comicbookmovie.com. We're going to start checking out the reviews here. So Kraven the Hunter's Rotten Tomato score has been revealed, and it's the final nail in the coffin for Spider-Man spin-off Universe's coffin. Yeah, I mean, the critic score is bad. The reviews are bad. The opening projecting weekend for this box office is just unbelievably bad. I mean, this is so kind of hurtful as a Marvel fan, because this universe of Sony Spider-Man spin-off characters, this could have been something great. It could have been fantastic. On paper, as a concept, it could have been incredible. And fans, if they were on board with it, if they did decent movies, this could have been something special. But just across the board, man, it's just not been good. So let's go over to Rotten Tomatoes here. So the movie is currently on 14% from 56 reviews. It doesn't have an audience score as of yet because it's not showing in major markets around the world yet. But 14% from 56 reviews. 14%. 14%. I can't even wrap my head around how bad that number is. So let's go over and start reading these reviews. So, starting off with this first one here from Digital Spy. You don't even need spider sense to know that Kraven the Hunter is not very good. Ending the universe with a fitting whimper. Moving on to 411 Mania, Kraven the Hunter enters the dreg of comic book superhero cinema with its utter ineptitude, awful dialogue, stilted performances, and awful, uninspiring visuals. Wow, just across the board, absolutely just nailed everything badly across the board. That doesn't sound good. So, from NYC Movie Guru, a convoluted, clunky, and tedious mess that becomes increasingly preposterous and silly. If you could imagine Spider-Man crossed with John Wick, minus the pizzazz, thrills, and fun, it would look something like this. Spider-Man and John Wick without the pizzazz. Okay, trying to imagine what that would look like. From Dan Merrill Reviews, Kraven the Hunter is a very, very bad movie. I love that, direct and straight to the point. Don't really need to say anything else. From Flick Direct, Taylor Johnson perfectly embodies Kraven with his superhuman physicality, intense stare, and calm, predator-like demeanor, making him an ideal casting choice. So, that does sound like a positive review on the surface. There's nothing negative really here to say, but it's still a negative review overall. But that person sounds quite happy with the movie, which is kind of strange. So, from Jeremy Johns, it's just blah. Again, very to the point. I like it. From MovieWeb, the stakes have never seemed particularly high, and its lack of momentum and its gaps in logic suggest much tinkering to gloss over bigger inadequacies. From Toitso.net, like Catwoman, Kraven is a misstep we should all forget the moment we turn our eyes away from it. From ComingSoon.net, overall, Kraven the Hunter works when it goes full-on R-rated action, but it works the least in everything else. So it does sound here like there's some redeeming features when it comes to the action and the R-rated kind of grittiness. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. If I get anything out of this movie, I just want some fun with the R-rated parts of the movie. I don't expect great dialogue or anything else really in this movie. I'm just going for the kind of the R-rated action that we saw in the trailers. And if I come away enjoying that, I think that'll be a win for me. So from Mashable, we have our first positive review here. This bonkers superhero movie is at its best when it embraces its most bizarre elements. In those moments, Kraven the Hunter is chaotic fun. That's an absolute blast to see on the big screen. Exactly, the chaotic moments, the R-rated action, that's kind of what I'm hoping that I'm going to enjoy the most. So from Punch Drunk Critics, with genuinely awesome action from skilled director J.C. Chandor, plus a swaggering Aaron Taylor Johnson at his most charismatic, it clears the adamantly low bar of being the best Sony Marvel spin-offs. That sounds great. So this person's saying it's the best of the Sony Marvel spin-offs. That's great to hear. From Culture Mix, the misfire Kraven the Hunter has a lion-inspired superhero and wildlife protection themes. So it's ironic that this mind-numbing film acts like a drugged lion trapped in a cage. Wow. It stumbles repeatedly and is barely coherent. A drugged lion trapped in a cage. Wow. Being compared to that, it doesn't get much worse, really. From My New Played Pants. Okay, that's interesting. Textbook bad movie behavior, but that doesn't mean there's not a good helping of true what the fuck fun to be had here. Yeah, again, people are saying, even though this movie's bad, they're saying that the action, the chaoticness, the kind of the silliness is something that's actually good to take away. So I'm kind of trying to hang my hat on that, if you will. From Hollywood, HollywoodInToto.com. Latest supervillain saga, both solid action, cringe-inducing dialogue. From The Observer, the Spider-Man spin-off is entertaining, the action sequences hold together, blood gushes frequently, and Aaron Taylor Johnson dons a midriff barring costume, but it's also convoluted and full of extraneous characters. The Outside Scoop, Kraven pulls off a trick of being overlong, 127 minutes, the longest of Sony's live-action SSU flicks, and seemingly stitched together in the editing room with little coherent storytelling beyond Sony's franchise Mad Libs manual. So it says here, like, a lot of these reviews are saying that it's, like, incoherent, that it doesn't make sense, that it's silly, you know, that the plot basically doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's kind of worrying to some degree. From discussing film, as the last movie in the Sony universe of Spider-Man villains, Kraven the Hunter couldn't have closed things out on a more pathetic note. This isn't like Madam Web, where you can at least laugh about how bad it is. It's just a total waste of time. From Film Inc., a fun little leopard print action crime flick. From Reuters, I bet that reading this you're thinking, I will give this movie a bad rating, and you're wrong. I was entertained by this movie, not in a it's so bad it's good, but legitimately. In a world without Spider-Man, Lion Man will save us all. So from Den of Geek, our final review. The movie is so vacacious, so bereft of life in spite of many desperate and quality actors trying to quicken the cadaver. Let me say that again. Quality actors trying to quicken the cadaver with wasted energy that is eerie resembles the cobbled together emptiness of the worst 2000 superhero time wasters. So they're saying it harkens back to those early 2000 superhero movies where they were very very incoherent and they were kind of in their infancy. They weren't put together very well. So across the board, a lot of people are saying that the story and the plot is incoherent, that it doesn't make a lot of sense. But then on the flip side, on the positive, a lot of people are saying that the action is something to take away from this movie, that some of the R-ratedness, the silliness, and the kind of the action-packed moments, maybe, you know, some people can get some enjoyment from that. And I'm hoping that's what I take away from the movie when I see it tomorrow. So, going back over to the article here, let's just have a quick read of this before we finish off. So, the first Kraven the Hunter reviews were published earlier today. Rotten Tomatoes score has been generated. As we write this, 42 verdicts have been counted, and the movie sits at a painfully low 14. Obviously, instead of it being 42, it's now at 56, but it still remains at a 14%, which isn't good. So, we're assuming he's not much of a comic book fan, because any filmmaker who read this script and thought that they did right by Kraven, well, let's just say no one familiar with the villain would give this one the thumbs up. So, they're saying that they didn't read the script, basically. The movie was hit with several delays, so the studio may have made many changes at the time. Morbius, for example, was butchered in post-production, and his third act was completely reshot. As of now, we don't know if Kraven the Hunter faced similar difficulties. So, let's read this quickly. So, with 14%, Kraven the Hunter at least has some company. Madam the Web is rated at 11. Morbius fared slightly better with 15%. The Venom franchise fared a little better with critics. Venom at 30%, Venom Let There Be Carnage at 58%, and Venom The Last Dance at 41%. You have to give Sony credit. The studio has now delivered 6 consistent critical flops since 2018. It's no wonder that Sony's Spider-Man Universe is reportedly dead. So, that's a pretty bad note to end things on right there, guys. I mean, it sounds like it's going out with a whimper. It's a fart in the wind, if you like. And it's just a failed project across the board. I mean, we've had the first Venom movie, which made $800 million at the box office. That was a financial success. Venom Let There Be Carnage, not the best movie in the world, but there was some fun to be had with it. Venom 3, Again, there was a little bit of fun to be had with that movie, but mostly it was kind of negative overall. But there was still little bits of fun to be had. But outside of the Venom movies, it seems that their other Sony Spider-Man spin-off universe characters, it just failed across the board. It's not been good whatsoever, and it's completely lost the confidence of the audience. And it seems, based on now the projection of the opening weekend numbers for Kraven, that nobody is going to watch this movie. It's going to flop massively, critically, audience-wise, financially. It's just going to be absolutely disastrous for the studio. So it's a shame to see this. It really, really is, because I wish this franchise could have done well. It could have been something special, like I said at the beginning of the video. But guys, you see these reviews, you see the critic score at 14%. Does this surprise you? Is it something that you actually expected? Whatever your thoughts are, guys, jump down into the comment section, leave your thoughts, comments, and opinions. I would love to hear your feedback on all this news surrounding Kraven, because it's just disappointing to hear this, and this really sucks. This could have been something great. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for checking out this content. Be sure to hit that like and consider becoming a subscriber if you haven't done already. I would love to have you as a subscriber of the channel. It goes a long way to supporting the content and everything I do on the channel, so I'd much, much appreciate that, guys. As always, I will see you in the next video.